Tēnā rā koutou katoa, ko Jordyn, tōku ingoa, he uri tēnei no whaingaroa i te taha o tōku papa. He uri hoki tēnei no muliwhanua lalovi, no vaimoso no whalelātai anō hoki i te taha o tōku māma. He hāmoa. Kia ora everybody, my name's Jordyn and I'm from the West Coast, Raglan, Whanaunga. And then I'm also from Samoa on my mum's side. And yeah, singer-songwriter.
Awesome. Kia ora everyone, ko Brandon tōku ingoa. Originally from South Auckland, from Mangere. My father's Tainui and my mother's Ngāpui. And I am a music producer and a multi-instrumentalist.
Awesome. So the name of this is Immersing the World in Waiata Reo Māori. I like to say we're immersing the world in Māori awesomeness. In recent times, we have seen an unprecedented rise in mainstream appreciation of Māori musicians expressing their culture through their music, whether that be in English, Reo Māori or Reo Rua, both here in Aotearoa and internationally. We have new songwriting retreats, funding opportunities, strong airplay stats, and eager audiences supporting the creation of puoro hall. So it's an exciting time for our Māori artists across all genres. Jordyn, I guess we'll start at the beginning. Tell us about your journey into singing, what drew you to Waiata Reo, and if you had any early influences or artists, mentors.
Yeah, so I'm still pretty new to the music industry formally. I grew up in church singing because my dad is a pastor. And he would often write songs that we would then have to learn and sing. And so I guess that's kind of been my training ground of like learning how to work with a lot of different people, different personalities, different ways of doing things, to create one sonic sound, to make it sound like you're all on the same waka, I guess. And so a lot of my upbringing has helped when it comes to forming a band, to creating music, to working collaboratively with people, me in English. And and then in terms of Te Reo Māori, my dad would always encourage me. He didn't know how to speak Māori because he was adopted out of his whānau as from Christchurch, grew up with English parents from England. And so his journey of reconnecting back home to Whaingaroa was kind of the start of our whole whānau reconnecting with our taha Māori, with our Māori side. And in 2019, I enrolled in a full immersion Rūmaki Reo course, 9 to 3, learning Te Reo Māori, and honestly changed my life. Completely turned my world around. It's because I had a 2-year-old at the time, and my tāne and I had decided that we really wanted our kids to grow up speaking Māori and to feel really connected to home, because I still felt like a stranger when I would go home, even though it was supposed to feel like home. So it was, a lot of identity questions. I just didn't want the next generation to have to deal with that. And so leaning into who I am, even with all the discomforts, has really opened the pathway for writing in Te Reo Māori. I didn't wait until I was like an expert at speaking Māori. I just started with what I had. And that was a practice that my dad used to do. He'd use whatever words he had and create waiata, and it would just help us remember. And so, I guess that's just how I started and kind of grew. And we've just been on this momentum.
What a momentum it has been. It's really exciting, really exciting. Brandon, same question. I guess you play many instruments, award-winning producer. So what led you into the business?
I was kind of lucky to be surrounded by people that were kind of already in the industry. Like my brother was a radio DJ for my FM in the 90s, so even just growing up as a kid, I was always in these spaces where I got to come across different producers or different people in the industry. So from a very young age, I just really got hooked into music production, and that kind of proceeded throughout the years, where I also learned how to I kind of got into audio engineering kind of after high school. Music was moving throughout high school as well, but after high school I got into audio engineering, and then from there it was really a networking thing where some of my friends that knew friends of friends of friends would kind of introduce me to other musicians within the space, and that's kind of how my career started. And the first time that ever happened was with a New Zealand artist called Lady Six, where her partner was friends of a friend of my friend, and we were both just kind of making demos in our bedroom, and he said, hey, you need to hear this guy. He can play. He played everything on the record. I think he would be great in the band. And ever since then, it's, the rest is history. I've had some really great touring and studio experiences and live show experiences with Lady Six, and they've kind of accumulated right up until now, where I'm actually collaborating with some really crazy world-class producers and still learning. Like, whenever I get asked about my journey, I'm still in it. So that's kind of the best way that I can explain where I'm at the moment. And even now, it's a new beginning for me to learn Te Reo, because I can't speak Reo fluently. So that's the next page for me in the book.
It's a lifelong journey, whether it's our career or our reo or whatever it is. What I've loved to see in more recent times within music is Māori moving within all the genre spaces. I think, in the past, it's kind of been pigeonholed into one sound, and now we look at, whether it be alien weaponry or yourself, Jordyn, we're moving within all those spaces. So what inspires you, Jordyn, to create contemporary music in Te Reo Māori? And how, if anything, how are you blending the traditional elements into that sound to make it yours?
I think for me, my biggest thing is about growing the love for Te Reo Māori. Because when you love something, you do whatever you can to help it grow. You give towards it. So I want people to love Te Reo Māori. I want, when they hear the songs, my songs in particular, I want them to go, man, I love that language. That word was easier to sing than it was for me to say. Something that's less daunting, maybe. And then the traditional side for me is our stories. Our stories, like our people, and not just Māori, but just in Polynesia in general, we have the most incredible storytellers. Like the fact that we still understand Maui and the sun. Do you know what I mean? That's these stories that are packaged like they're for children, but when you unpack it, they have these incredible, scientifically backed reasonings as to how the taiao, the environment, has informed our way of living. And so, how do you do all that in a song? You just want, I think when you love something, then people give you time or they chuck money at it, hey? And so that's my goal. And I love hearing Te Reo Māori in such different, when people lean more into who they are. We're also, like, I'm Samoan and Māori. I grew up in South Auckland. My sounds that I grew up listening to are very urban. So I don't want to have to change that fact. I am who I am right now, with all of the stories that make up who I am right now. So I'm just making music that I hear right now, and I'm using those stories that have been ancient and, proverbial statements, all of that, just to keep pushing it forward. So, I'm just adding to the journey, I guess.
That word journey keeps coming up, and I love it. When you think about our history and our navigational skills in the waka, that's what we do, right? We just journey through life. So, and I guess this is a question for both of you. The role of contemporary Waiata Māori in the evolving New Zealand landscape, or the New Zealand music landscape. How do you see that? I guess it feeds on from your the contemporary sound with the traditional storytelling and things like that. Like, how are we using Waiata to evolve that landscape?
That's a great question. I recently was at a Māori producer camp called Manu Taiko, which was awesome. It was one of the first camps where I actually got to talk about recording and producing principles as opposed to just trying to squeeze in a song in one day. And the first conversation actually comes back to the question you ask is, how do we incorporate te ao Māori and our language into contemporary music, it was such a difficult one because I could feel in the room that really all people need is just encouragement to kind of just step out and try combine or fuse different styles of music with Te Ao Māori songs. And the conversation kept weaving in and out of there are certain styles of Māori music that kind of remain, this isn't really the right word to use it, but that are kind of tapu, where you wouldn't take a kapa haka song and kind of turn it into some dubstep techno thing. And people are aware of it. They're like, why, the lyrics of the song and the meaning of it are totally different from the style of music that you're trying to impose onto it. And I do understand that. But I feel like with the next generation, which I'm thinking of 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the line, it's going to put us in a position to kind of take what we know with Māori instruments or Māori music and to kind of evolve them in ways where, I guess the best example is recently I've really been enjoying kind of like Afrobeat music, and I feel like the entire South American continent has really embraced Spanish, the Spanish language, and just kind of modified that to what you would normally hear on Billboard charts and music. And it's there. You can see it, you can hear it. I can really see that for Māori music in the future, even more so, probably beyond what I can actually imagine at the moment.
Yeah, what he said. I think too, like, it's not an individual journey. It wasn't just like one singer that decided, hey, I'm going to sing in Te Reo Māori. Like to recognise that there's a whakapapa, a strategy too behind everything. And the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is really because of people like Whai Hinewehi, Te Māngai Pāho, these strategies that they have in place to make sure that Te Reo Māori music is being heard, being created, being played on radio. Like there's a whole cycle that we then become a part of and we contribute to. And so I just see that cycle growing bigger and bigger. It feels like that, that it's happening in Aotearoa, but exactly what you said. I look at people like Tyler and Amapiano music from South Africa and the way that it's popping off. And that's really just because she's leaning into who she is. And I think if we can see that for many other languages, K-pop goes off, Afrobeats goes hard. Like people love to see our differences. And I believe that for Te Reo Māori music as well.
And to add to your point, because we're, in the eyes of the world, we're still a relatively new culture, we're actually in a prime position to use all of the colours of the rainbow and experiment with everything. There isn't kind of a preconception that people around the world have an identification with this is what Māori is, this is what Māori does. It's like we can actually do what we want in terms of the world.
So, following on from that, if we're increasing our visibility, blending of traditional and contemporary, so we also can't ignore AI, the increase of in space that AI is occupying. So with AI in the production space, Brendan, how are you ensuring that your work maintains, or anybody's work maintains its cultural integrity and sovereignty within that, growth?
This is such a huge space at the moment, and I know a lot of people are sick and tired of hearing the word AI and AI this, AI that. I get it. But at some point, you're just going to have to come to terms with this new technology is here and it's going nowhere. It's here to stay, and it's only ever going to evolve and become better and better and better. At the moment, there's so much frustration that these really amazing AI tools that can basically create a song for you just by writing a sentence. But the frustrating part is that how that AI makes that music is usually based off of a whole bunch of different songs that have come before it. And when I first saw these two different software platforms literally create a song in seconds, I was quite frightened because the level of the song was almost 100% there. The tone of the vocalists, the phrasing, the lyrics, the whole production, like all the instruments were there. And then I started seeing more documents come out over time about how these companies are just using anyone's music to help build the AI model so that anyone can generate what they want. And the penny dropped for me where I'm thinking, if these guys are just using any music that comes out, whether it's from New Zealand or from Australia or from any artist, it did kind of raise a light bulb that in the next 10 to 20 years, protecting your sovereignty in terms of how you sound, how you project ideas, what your likes and dislikes are going to become really, really important. Beyond anything that we can imagine, where I guess the old days, if you were to make a demo, you had to be careful where you recorded the song, who had access to the song, where's the USB, where's the CD, where now you kind of almost have to protect what you sound like. How much music have you released in the past, and is that safe from these machines that can just eat that and then spit out a different version of you? It's really frightening, but it's also really exciting. I'm trying to squeeze a lot into this, if you can't tell, but
it's a panel within a panel.
Yeah, my takeaway from this is that in the next 5 to 10 years, if any of you come across any platforms that allow you to build an AI model, I would just proceed with caution that if you are or find yourself in a situation where there's going to be a model built on you, to make sure that you have ownership or control over it and it's not owned or controlled by someone else. Yeah.
Don't ask me anything.
No. I looked and Jordyn's face was like, I'm not going near that one.
I personally believe that.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. We heard in a panel earlier about cutting through noise, the amount of music being made, music consumers being exposed to, 100,000 new songs per day on Spotify. So there's a lot of discussion, a lot of buzzwords around finding and growing fan base, local fan base, international fan base, all of those kinds of things. Jordyn, what are some of the challenges, I guess, but also the triumphs that you've experienced bringing your Waiata Reo to a mainstream audience? Because I guess that's the thing, right, is that your music is being consumed by everyone, not just a Māori audience, which I think sometimes misses some people's consciousness, that you're not making Māori for Māori, you're making Māori music for everyone. And how are you leveraging social media and those streaming platforms to increase the visibility of your music?
Yeah, I think I was a bit lucky coming into music because I sort of started on social media anyway. And really, how do you explain it? Like projecting my personality in a very amplified way, the values that I care about. So a lot of like social commentary kind of things I would just talk about on Instagram, which sort of generated a following of what I would say is like urban Māori. Not just in Aotearoa, like urban Māori in lots of different spaces, but then also just urban Indigenous and then allies of urban Indigenous. That's kind of that was the people that I was seeing on social media. So then when I brought that aspect to my music, I found that it was building in that space. I think challenges is that people I really believe in Indigenous music and our storytelling in music for the world. Like I believe it's for everyone. I think that whoever you are, when you're listening to our stories in music, it doesn't have to be mine, just like anyone, that you can find value in it. And I don't think everyone believes that. So I think that's like a challenge, is when you believe something wholeheartedly that other people just aren't quite seeing yet. And I think you have to hold yourself in a particular way and move through the industry as if that's already true, as if it's already valuable. What I have to bring to the table with my non-fluent Reo Māori and as a reclaimer, learner, still learning how to go back home often, just who I am right now, that's valuable to this industry, and my stories are going to be valuable to the wider contribution of our Indigenous storytelling. So that, I think it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that we should take up. I don't think it's something we should bow to or shrink in front of. I think it's something that we get to rise to. And then I've been able to see audiences feel more confident in who they are, like playing live shows and meeting people that are listening to my music in the car rides, dropping their kids off to school, or listening to it on the radios. That's been such a rewarding, I think the most rewarding part is being able to then do music, which to me is fun, but doing something much more meaningful, which is telling our stories and perpetuating these values that are actually shared worldwide, but I think we get to say it from a unique perspective.
Do you think, I'm just looking at Willa to make sure she's not giving me a time check. I'm good. I think about Moana and the Mohunters back in the day, alien weaponry, huge international audiences. Do you think that sometimes an international audience sees the value before the audiences at home?
I mean, just from an outward perspective, it seems that way for like alien weaponry. You got people overseas singing in Te Reo Māori and not batting an eyelid about it or complaining about it. Like they're loving it. I've seen the way that 35 completely took over TikTok for a bit, and people responding to it. The way that people hear Stan Walker singing, like, and it's nothing to do with his reo, but it's everything to do with like, I don't know, that unseen stuff, the place that he's singing from that internationally people recognize. So yeah, sometimes it's a bit hard in that sense where internationally people can recognize that our stories have value before we recognize our own value.
It's always a fun thing to unpack. As Māori, we often feel or are compelled or are told by our elders to do, to be everything for everyone in all spaces. For example, Jordyn, you're a mama, music artist, online artivist, recently been named as one of the writers for season 3 of Only in Aotearoa. Slightly busy, wahine up here. What practices do you implement for yourself to maintain your well-being while managing the demands of all the things that you are and all the things that you're doing?
I think the first thing is don't try and do everything by yourself. I'm 100% a product of my whānau. Anytime that I'm here because my husband's at home with our kids, you know, and if we're both somewhere, it's because my mum's got them. It's because my brothers are helping run the admin of what happens at home, the school runs, everything. So I always say I'm an interdependent artist. I'm not an independent artist. I don't really value independence that much, to be honest, because I'm very much from my whānau, from my village, from my community. And we're the same with everyone. So I get to do all of this cool stuff that I care about. I get to tell my stories that I think are important through all of these different facets, all of these different ways. But my siblings are doing the same thing. They're absolutely killing it in their own fields. And that's because we're all there for each other. I think we're the same for our band. Everyone who plays in my band is an incredible songwriter in their own right. We do BVs for each other. We just try and be there for each other so that everyone gets the most without having to pay so much money, or, you know, like you want the best for everyone. And I think if you can show up for people, they really do show up for you. I'm only here because my people show up for me. So that helps me not have to carry everything by myself. And then aside from that, like drink water, have some sleep, like really practical things. If you're not feeling well, just be like, did I eat today? Did I drink enough water today? Like really, really practical things that actually help us function physiologically. Those are really important. Stay on top of it because time just goes like, you know, you find that your schedule's so booked up and everyone's all of a sudden getting COVID. So, you know, wear your mask on the plane and like, you know, do all of the things that you know are a bit boring admin, but they actually help.
Yeah, fish out those masks, people, because I think we're about to head back into mask-wearing days. you collaborate a lot in your work, Brandon. So how important is that collaborative environment to you also in regards to your hauora?
Extremely important, even though I'll be honest in saying I haven't been looking after my hauora recently, just because the arrow on the chart is, there are moments when it goes...
Admitting it is the first step, right? Yeah.
Right? Admitting it is the first step, and I am aware of it. But yeah, I'm also a daddy too. I've got a little 2-year-old who goes to aonga koanga from 10 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon. And between those two times is Dad's time to try and collaborate with at least 20 to 30 people. And it can get it can get pretty insane. I definitely have had to readjust my concept of time where when I am free, this is work time, but when baby is home, when my partner is home, then I'm a father, I'm a partner, and it's really hard to switch this off at those times, but it's incredibly important to do that and be present. And especially recently, my collaborative spaces have been merging between the physical and the digital as well. I think physically collaborating with someone is almost like you're almost lucky to do it now if you can actually meet up with someone in person, because working with people online is more of a convenience if you're working with someone that lives too far away from you, different city, different country, different time zone. Online's kind of the only way that you can get your work done, but I actually treasure the moments I have now where I can call up someone or text someone and say, hey, should we go into the studio this weekend or this couple of days and work on some music, and then maybe after that process keep things in the digital space because of the family and the kids, and trying to balance that convenience versus work-life balance.
That we all strive for. Willa, how are we going? Yeah, it's like question time. Okay, can I ask one more question? Ka pai. Thinking about ka mua, ka muri, who should we be adding to our playlist today, whānau? So from each of you, an artist from before you and an up-and-coming artist. While the audience thinks of the questions they would like to ask.
I reckon up-and-coming. Oh, there's heaps. Okay, just one. My friend Ma, official music. So good.
Kia ora.
So talented. And we'll have mean music up and coming. From before, this Pātea Māori club, like so gangster.
Nice.
Ooh. The pressure. Up and coming. Jeez, there are so many. There's a young kid from Whangarei. I cannot remember his name for the love of me. But he was introduced to me through some Universal A&Rs that he was a young 14-year-old Te Ao Māori boy from Whangarei. Apparently he was insane. Sounds like Ed Sheeran and Adele and Sam Smith all mixed into one, but was fluent in Reo as well. And it was kind of pulling from this pop side and using Reo with it. Really cool kid. He's definitely up and coming kid. Before me, I want to say Herbs. I've always been into Herbs through my parents, and yeah.
Beautiful. All right. I had heaps more things to say, heaps more things to ask them. So maybe I shouldn't have shortened that panel time because there was only two of us. But yes, questions.
Hi guys, like the music you're doing. Question I've got is, how can we use Waiata Reo Māori to continue building bridges into other genres? As a songwriter myself, I'm not fluent in Māori, but it's always fascinated me. How can we continue building those bridges to different genres and songwriters who wouldn't normally dabble in Te Reo?
I think collaboration with other Reo Māori artists or producers. You know, a lot of like my music is not produced by necessarily Māori producers, but they've got a great sonic ear. They know the sounds. They can become familiar with what sounds good in terms of vowel sounds or melodic sounds. Like yesterday we did this mean track with Eddie on the beat. He's not Māori, but he just produced a whole Reo Māori with like gang vocals. And so I think collaboration, networking, finding good mates in the space and diversifying who we're working with is helpful in that regard.
Yeah, basically what she said is collaborate, and I love what you said about finding producers and people that aren't necessarily Māori that are in different fields, because that kind of in essence is a way to build the bridge, is you're working with someone that doesn't have an understanding but may not have a strong understanding about te ao Māori than you may do. So you're kind of teaching each other in that regard while building a connection between two different styles of music that you're wanting to achieve. So, yeah.
Slide into the DMs, bro. Not mine, but just like everyone, there's people. Sorry.
Facts.
I just wanted to ask, how have you found, like, what's the importance to you of using your reo and, like, your music as a form of protest, or, like, how, if it's applicable to you, what you use with your reo music to, like, talk about in a more nationwide context about what's important to you?
No, that's a great question, because I think just being Māori and talking about anything, like talking about Te Reo Māori is political, and it is, like, doesn't matter what I do, it'll be perceived as protest anyway, so I'm like, lean into it. Everything I do is protest. When I use Te Reo Māori, that's my active form of protest, not against English, it's just for Te Reo Māori. It's for making more spaces for all of our voices. So the stories that I tell, the perspectives that I speak from, all are absolutely in protest of the mindset that we can only have one way of doing things, you know, that you can only sing in one language and that it should only sound like one thing. Absolutely not, you know. And I think what drives me is then going, this next generation, my kids, they're not going to really have to fight. They'll just be living in this world that has a diverse range of sounds. So lyrical content is usually where I have a lot of that protest, more than sonically, only because I'm not a musician, I'm more of a songwriter. But yeah, definitely, I feel like all of what I do is protest.
It's awesome answer. In a weird way, I feel like if you're creating art that offends people for a good reason or a good cause, then you're doing something right.
What a mic drop end to a great panel. Ngā mihi nui kia koroa. Paki up, Jordyn and Brandon. Thank you.